Hello, fellow readers. I hope that you're doing great. Today I have Outliers, The Story of Success by Malcolm Gladwell, an author of The Tipping Point and Blink and many awesome books. This book is very unique. It's a study of the real reason why people are successful, and it's a unique selling point that it doesn't tell you most of the things that self-help books tell you. It doesn't tell you passion or love or dedication. No. The author went to, I think, a soccer match, or maybe, I don't remember. So he and his wife noticed that most of the players, it was a hockey match. Yeah, I remember. Good memory. So most of the hockey players were born in January, February, and March. So he said maybe this is a coincidence, but then he studied more that the most of the Canadian League, most of the players were born in these months. So he went to dig deeper and study why is that phenomena happening. And he realized that in this season, the coaches take the students in this year and the students who were born in this month, and they give them more practice and they take more time and they mature, and then they are taken to clubs, national clubs, to have more practice. And when they are chosen for the national teams, the players, of course, who matured earlier and had more practice, get more opportunities and become better players, and they reach the nationals. So he had this intriguing ideas. What if most of the people who became successful had their circumstances different? What if these guys were born in different months? Would they become lawyers or engineers or teachers, not becoming professional hockey players because they got this training? And then he went through to dig really deep with this, and he found something amazing. Before I tell you what he found, I want to tell you a real story of someone called Al-Albani. This is a scholar, an Islamic scholar. His name is Mohamed Nasser Al-Albani. If you read any book on hadith, you'll find the name of this guy on most of the books, as he is the world-renowned scholar. So this guy was reading a book in a library, and he did not find a page. One page was cut out of this book. So he went to the librarian and he asked him, where can I find this page? Someone cut a page out of this book. So he told him, you can search in the remainder of the books. You have a lot of books in the library. Go search. And so he opened the first book and he started reading it. It was very interesting. He read the whole book and did not find his page. And then he read the second book. And then the next day, he came again and he started reading another book and another book, looking for his one page. And he started reading and reading and reading, and he loved reading so much, and he loved the knowledge that he was getting. And he continued doing this for almost 5 years, and he read over 2,000 books. This guy became one of the most famous in 21st century scholars of hadith in the world. Until today, almost no one has surpassed him. The knowledge that he got, this library had rare books and all the scriptures and things that he consumed. He was like almost reading and studying 15 hours every day, and the writings and the things that he did were nothing short of amazing. What this guy did is something that is repeated in many stories. You can read the story of Bill Gates and Steve Jobs and Elon Musk. All these guys, you would realize something repetitive in their story, which is the 10 hours rule. This is a rule that is repetitive in most of the guys who are called outliers, the people who are different, the people who achieve something in their life and they leave a legacy that could change the world. These people have something in common. They take a part of their lives where they study something so much, they go so deep, almost spending 5 to 10 years studying at least 10 hours in this one thing, becoming world experts in this thing, and then they start producing. Bill Gates, for example, studied way more than 10 hours programming in Harvard University, I think, when he was a teenager. And then he started making a little company that you might have heard of called Microsoft. In this era, in the same year, also Steve Jobs was born, the same year. And he studied also programming and design, and he was interested in software and hardware and started making computers in the age of the dot-com boom, where the technology was coming and so on. So they were born at the same time and they studied the same thing what the world was interested in. So this is not a coincidence that the story is happening across the lives of the outliers, the people who were there at the right time exactly, where they find success. So it is not only about you and about the things that you do, it's about the situations that are giving to you. It's about your parents, about the country that you're living in, about your financial state. Some things you cannot control. Some kids are born for rich parents, so they go from exercise to training for piano or music or taking languages. They have a lot more opportunities than someone who was raised for poor parents or middle class or in an area where there are facilities and so on. And this determines a lot of things of the outcome. However, another rule you can get in this book is the attempt. They say that in most Asian countries, they plant the rice and they do it very, very thoroughly and they take a lot of time. But in modern Western countries, they use machines. So it comes easy for them. The people who make effort in something, it sticks to them more. Let's say, for example, you have found money in the street, right? I found a lot of money and you were so happy and just jumping with that money, and that money was lost. That money flew out of your pocket or flew out of your hand and fell into the water. You will not be sad, all right? You just found this money and you lost this money. But if you worked for hours to gain less amount of money, you will keep this money forever. You worked for it. The same principle happens for everything. Everything you learn. You spend hours, you study, you write down with your own hands on paper. Yes, some people still do that. You know, some people enter a class and they just play the phone, play a record on their phones, and they think, oh, I might listen to it later. And they don't. And even if they did, it's not the same as writing it down with your own hands. The more effort you put in something, the more you try, the more you will gain. And this is actually something reassuring, because you might try to learn math or learn languages and you think it's difficult. Well, hell yeah, it must be difficult. But the more you try, the harder you try, you will break that curse and you will start learning math and learning languages and gaining more skills, and it will stick into your mind and you will have that skill for a long time. Right? So this is the law of effort. The more effort you put into something. Lastly, languages. They said that most of Asian children are smarter than the rest of the world in math competitions. Why? Because the language system is defined and made differently. For example, you have the numbers 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So you might think this is not, it's chronologically ordered. It made sense. But why do we have 9, 10, 11, and we don't have 1 teen or 12 teen or 3 teen, but we have 11, 12? That's different. And this is actually how the numbers go for Chinese alphabet and numbers. It goes 2, 1 and 1, 2 and 1, 3 and 1. So it goes differently. The language influences your learning. So if you are trying to learn a specific science or another language, if you learned it in your own language, it's going to be so much different and profound. If you read a book in your native tongue, in whatever, if you speak Arabic, if you read a book in Arabic, it will have an impact on you differently from reading this book in English or in any other language you're trying to do. This is why no one has ever won a Nobel Prize in a different language than his own mother tongue. This is something to consider, the influence and impact of your language on learning other things and on your personality. So Outliers is a great book, and it tells you a great deal on perspective on success. Success is not just the work of magic or motivation and all that shenanigans. Success is your root, is where you were born and the family and the country and the environment around you. This is very important. The room that you study in, or the place, the friends, the company that you keep, all these things contribute into your success. One of the most important things that I've learned in this book is that you have to take a part of your life and dedicate it to learning. So most people want to gain, right? I want to gain a lot of money. I want to have fame. I want to become successful. But the work that you do is not so sexy, It's not fun to stay hours and study and revise and do all that. However, you are not going to produce, you're not going to have results until you start putting the hours and putting the study. I hope that you become an outlier and you break the chains and you become whatever you want.